Hey there. Man, I'm worn out, so let's get a shave done and go to bed. WR2 from Wolfman. I think it's one of the most beautiful razor heads out there. It's a little pricey, but this one is below the standard gap range. I think it's an 85, and it has I think this is the WR2 handle. It's not hollow, a little heavy, but not too much. And so if I ever found a hollow one, I might be interested in that. It saves a little bit on the weight, but you get the great looks and feel and stuff. Gillette Silver Blue is the blade today. It's only had about 5 uses. Stirling Barbershop. I like the scent a lot, so I just had it on hand. It was so late, and I've had some restlessness lately, that I just decided to grab what was close by, and that one happened to be close by, and it's a good scent that I like a lot. Also, I'm going to be using this Boar. This is a Whip Dog 24 millimeter Boar that I've used over 40 times. I used it when I did a austere August thing with Williams, I think, and he did great. I really liked him as a Boar. I get my face wet. I've got over 2 days of growth because I just wasn't feeling well yesterday, mainly just fatigue, and so I didn't shave, and I had a better day at work because I didn't shave and I went right to bed and that kind of thing. So I'm happy I did that. So today's shave is with a Boar intentionally. I've got a friend online, and we have a lot in common shave-wise. Our shave theories and practices and how we like our soap to be and that sort of thing. His name's Needs More Menthol is the username he goes by. Now that's the one thing we don't have in common. I definitely need less menthol, but it's the few differences so far, it seems. And so it's nice to have people like that online, because then a lot of times you learn new things that you like, because as you talk about things and all that. Well, today's going to be a face lather. As if you're a regular watcher of my channel, you'll know that I've just been frustrated with some face lathers lately. I get an okay lather from it, about as best as I think I'm going to get, but one of the problems is that if I start off with a lot of lather in the brush, water in the brush, and I go to load up how much soap I think I need, then when I start to brush that onto my face, the water just kind of dumps out because it's not really mixed in with the soap very well yet. And then, the opposite of that is if you don't have as much water in the brush, then you're stuck adding water little bit by little bit to your face while you're brushing your face the whole time, It takes a lot of, let's see, if it takes 2 teaspoons, 3 teaspoons of water to get the lather where I want it, then that's a lot of drops. And so that's a little frustrating with the time thing. And so I've definitely had some face lathers where I didn't get to the consistency that I wanted because I was just tired of the chore of it. Well, we've got the GSB inside the razor. It does have the tabs right there, and I'm happy about that because it makes it easy to manipulate the blade. And then as I'm adding water, as part of the lather starts to get a little more loose, then chunks start to fly off of that loose stuff, and that's the stuff I want to keep. That's what I'm trying to get to. So it's really frustrating. Plus it makes a mess. I don't make a mess with my bowl usually, and so I prefer not to just have lather stuck to the walls and all that stuff. And so those have been my experiences, and I want to get to be a decent bowl face latherer, but I'll definitely switch back to bowls so far. I haven't found anything in face lathering so far that makes me want to stick with that style, but I'd just like to be better at it to be a complete shaver. And other times, maybe if I discover it's a quicker shave, then I have that in my pocket for times when I need to be a little faster because of a constraint, time constraint, or something like that. Stirling Barbershop. Ooh, you can tell it's late. Stirling Barbershop is a kind of a dark, sweet type barbershop. It's not like a lot of the others that are maybe a little bit floral or powdery, that sort of thing. And I like it. All right, so we'll just call it menthol for short. So menthol said, take out your Boar brush. Don't use one that's so young it's killing lather. Well, this one's definitely not doing that. It's a good Boar brush. And have it be wet but not dripping. So let's just kind of shake it a little bit to kind of get the heavy drips out. All right. And then he said do 100 swirls in a container that's deep enough to hold the proto lather. And this one's about a centimeter deep. So let's hope that that's enough. And all right. And we'll do a minute of loading. Start at the 30-second mark. I'm sorry. He said swirls. Okay, well, hey, you time me. I'm going to start at the 40-second mark right there. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's 100 swirls. Now, unfortunately, I did not choose a tub that would hold in all the proto lather. So this may make a difference. Let's just do 20 more swirls just for grins. Okay, let's see what happens. I may have botched everything up by not choosing a deeper jar, so we'll just see. The stuff that did roll over the sides was thin and bubbly, and so we'll just have to see. All right. Now, I believe he said that since I shook out some water and I did it for 100 or so swirls, that in theory, hopefully, there's less water in here to dump out, and so there'll be enough for the shave without having to add a bunch back in. So let's just see what we get. I'm going to start light so that I don't. Well, that's going very well in terms of keeping the water in the brush. Maybe he didn't say to start light. And this brush feels terrific. I recommend this guy. He's not very expensive either. Just Whip Dog Boar. So if I can get a little bit of a lather going, then I can gradually start increasing in pressure and get at the water that's inside the brush. Nice soft tips. Pretty dense in terms of the, bristle count. So I asked for help online. And I got several responses back, and many of them were along the same vein. Load really heavy. Well, that's a less attractive option to me. I mean, I have tons of soap, so I can afford to load heavy if I wanted to, but that just means I'm stuck adding more water to try to compensate. Like right now, this is This is too thick. This needs water added to it. And so loading for a minute is just going to give me, at least in my mind, it's going to give me a thick situation, maybe almost like this one, where I now have to go through the tedium of adding the water, and then I experience that whole negativity that I got before, that I was telling you about before. Let me get a bowl of water here out for dipping. I'm just gonna dip and paint, try to add water to this, because it definitely needs it. But he was right there, at least with this brush, it didn't really start dumping the water out. So that's good. Another dip. Another dip. I did learn from somebody that you don't really want to go into the splay with a bunch of excess, lather on your brush, because it just makes it kind of want to jump out and depart. So I'm trying to see if that holds true. I believe it is. So just kind of add more water with some dips here. Oh, and there we go. I did the slight swirl, and it just kind of dumped out the water. So maybe this painting is just the way to go while I'm in this mode here. And then we've got the liquidy stuff, the watery stuff dripping. We don't want it dripping away. I need it in my beard. Maybe tilt myself over a little bit to keep that wet stuff in the lather. So I don't want to end up with just a drier lather than I like, just because the face lathering, you're just using your brush, and so you don't have anywhere to store the other 3 passes of lather. I think that's definitely a weakness of face lathering. Some people choose to then take that excess and store it away in like a bowl or a cup for use later. So that's one way to get around that problem. And that seems reasonable to me. Yeah, we're starting to see some good hydration, but it's getting messy. I think, I've said this before, I think this may be one of the reasons why guys are shaving with lathers that are just too dry. It's just too tedious to add enough water to them while you're, face lathering. And that's all right, if that makes them happy, if it gets them comfortable shaves. But a lot of guys do complain about dryness, a soap being drying, and they'll complain about a soap that I've never had a problem with being dry. Well, it could be because they're using so much soap. Like I may use 7 seconds worth of loading with a bowl lather and have 4 very nice creamy passes of lather, and they're using a whole minute of loadings worth of soap. Almost 6 times Probably by the time you got probably 7 times as much soap as I'm using. So that's 7 times as much drying effect the soap is going to have. So if they switch to bowl lathering so they could back off the dryness of the lather, they could get a bunch of water in there. Yep, so there we go. That if I hadn't turned my head over, that piece right there would have just flung off, and that's exactly what I want to keep on my face. So maybe this turning head thing is a way I can keep the good lather on my face. Use gravity as my ally here. Okay, I think I'm seeing this is just tedious. So I think I'm gonna just kind of even out what I've got here. I don't have a lot of excess here, but we will keep it around and see if it's enough for the other passes. Gonna capture some of this stuff here. I'm using my shaving bowl for water dipping, so I'll have to try to put this on my brush. So I had several people reply, so I might try some things, try some different methods, but most of them involve overloading, and I just don't like that. All right. So here we go. Wolfman WR2. Nicely slicing through with just minor tugging, since it's 2 days worth of growth after all. The good news is that tedious process of adding water causes you to spend more time with that lather on your skin. And so you need that to make sure that the skin is softened and protected with the slickness that the lather offers you. All right, well, that was reasonably comfy for a 2-day growth. Let's rinse. And I can tell from the rinse on my face, I just felt the slickness and almost the sliminess of too much soap. And I think that's what a lot of guys just have to deal with when they're face lathering. And so I know that it needed more water to get it to a place where I like it, you know? So it just may mean that it's just too much trouble to get via face lathering, to get a soap to the point where, you know, I like it. And that's, you know, that's just fair. If that's what it is, that's what it is. A lot of guys like the face lathering. They like to feel the brush on their face. They like to, you know, work the lather and all that stuff. And that's fine. You know, choose your own path here. Add a little bit of water. Menthol did say that, you know, you would need to add a few drops of water per pass to kind of, you know, bring it back. And there we go. Don't leave me. I'm a codependent shaver. Still feel the blade a little bit. It's not quite as slick as my normal lathers with a bowl because, you know, it's just drier. But it's a functional lather, and so I can see, you know, where face lathers would, and it's enjoyable. I can see where face lathers would, you know, stop at this type of hydration and think that they found a good place, and it's good, but there's just better farther. But with face lathering, it's just more difficult and tedious, more tedious to get farther because the brush only holds so much lather. And so when I bowl lather, I'm able to rinse most of the soap off most of the lather off my face and get it down to just a slightly slick feel. But right here, it is a lot of lather, kind of invisible soap still sitting on my skin. So at the end of the shave, it might take quite a while to clean me up, rinse it all fully. And see, as you can see, the lather is thinner, whereas with a bowl I get much nicer lather for the third pass. Okay, let's dip, see if we can kind of re-energize some of the soap that's been attached to my skin for the whole shave. This brush is terrific. I forgot how good it is. I mean, I'm not sure. It's not a secret. It's probably from one of the big suppliers, you know, in China. But it's enjoyable. I like it better than some of my smaller Simogs. It's got more brush density and stuff. All right, well, there we go. And see, my bowl lather wouldn't require as much work per pass trying to re-energize the lather, because it would already be made. My face would have already been scrubbed and cleaned, so I wouldn't need to keep doing that. Second and third pass, you can really just scoop it out of the bowl, even out the coat, the layer, and then you're done. Whereas here, you kind of keep doing a lot more brush work. All right, cross grain again here on my cheeks. Feels pretty smooth. I do feel just a little bit of cutting, but a little bit of the edge. But since we've cut most of the hairs already, you're not hearing much. And that's as it should be. And now cross grain from the other direction right here in my trouble spot. Just a very light touch around the neck. As well as many shavers out there, the neck is just a place where I have to be a lot more careful. All right, it might take a while, but I'm gonna do a rinse here. There we go. Now with Menthol's method, he was saying, I finally got it all rinsed off. He was saying that I might just have to add I wouldn't have to do all the dipping that I did. Generally speaking, the brush had enough water in it to give you that first pass, and then you just need a few drops before to kind of refresh the lather in your brush before each pass after the first one. And so I did depart from his recipe a little bit, but I think I had to. I definitely needed more water than I even gave it and so I think those dips were necessary. So I think that's a good face lathering method. It wasn't too messy. There was just a little bit of flying around, so I like that. But there was just too much richness on my face. Too much soap on my face instead of lather. All right, but yeah, I was just enjoying this Boar. It's a nice soft little Boar brush, man. And I do have some lather. I might be able to do another pass for that, and so I am. So I probably would get 4 passes out of what I loaded. But if I would have loaded for 20 seconds with Stirling, I would have gotten those 4 passes as well. And so this is just a lot more soap used up for this kind of process. So that's a couple of dings there. More soap used up. Speaking of versus the bowl, I'm able to use a lot less soap. I have a much lighter soap feeling on my face during the shave, where not as much soap thickness is on me. Less messy. Less the brush work is easier because you're just sitting here stirring in a bowl instead of all that brushing and mixing I had to do on my face. Now, if you like the feel of your brush and that's your thing, then that might be a plus for you. Whereas for me, it was just a whole lot of work, feeling more like a chore rather than a spa experience. So for me, that's a little bit of a ding. All right. Well, not bad. I'm curious. Let's. I'm just going to take my brush here. I wonder how much lather is left in the bowl from the sound, and not a whole lot. So it looks like I did give it enough water to kind of get a lot of the concentrate out of my bowl. Yeah, there's not really much left in the brush. There's enough to do the job for, a pass or something. And another ding against the face lathering is the nice richness of that first pass, but then since you flush all that concentrate down the drain, then the second and third passes are a whole different story. I mean, they're acceptable and slick and comfortable and reasonable. Not as hydrated as a bowl lather would be, but they're okay. But with the bowl, it's so much better. The lather quality you're able to keep going with throughout your shave. All right. Let's see what post-shave I want to use. Well, the soap was kind of dark and sweet, and it was very enjoyable during the shave. But let's switch the other way and go with something with a little bit of punch and greenery, those sorts of things. Since I need to use up this balm before it goes bad. It's an older one. Stirling Sharp Dressed Man, which is a clone of Green Irish Tweed. I believe it's from Creed. The classic cologne. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to clean out my gear. The Balm is a nice, I call it a story sometimes. It's a nice story from the barbershop. The sweetness, the amber, the tobacco type of scent coming into, this a little bit more punchy citrus type scent with all the notes that it has in it. I think it's a really nice transition. I think if I combine those two, wouldn't that be an interesting thing? If I took half a scoop of barbershop and half a scoop of Sharp Dressed Man from the Stirling soap line and mixed them together, that might be an interesting experiment. All right, guys. Well, that was a reasonable experience. Definitely not preferable at all to my bowl lathering practices for the reasons I've spelled out. But at least I think that was a a reasonable one if I needed to face lather, but I don't know that it really saved me any time. And so if I'm going to face lather, perhaps I just need to settle for using a much drier lather than usual, because otherwise I'd just rather go with the bowl, because it takes the same amount of time, and with the bowl I get a better lather. All right, very good. But I like the scent a lot. It was good to use this razor again. It was a nice match with the blade. That last pass was comfy, and and great to use that Boar again. I'll have to put more uses on it. It's got a nice soft feel, but it has a medium backbone, and so it does keep the tips pretty focused at you and splays nicely, comfortably, but can still whip up a lather from any soap. Happy with that. All right, well, you guys stay safe out there with the COVID thing going around. Be careful and be wise. Take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Hope there's been something here in this video to help you out. Good night.